Hi everyone, welcome back to Allison's ESL Kitchen. Today we're going to make a very simple dish. We're going to take this nice autumn squash and bake it. Half of it we're going to make sweet and the other half we're going to make savory. So our first step is to take this nice squash and we're going to slice it in half. In order to do so, we're going to need a sharp knife. So you want a blade that will be able to cut through this hard shell. For example, I have this nice blade here. It has the serrated edge and it also is very sharp. So what I'm going to aim to do is to cut this as evenly as possible right down the middle. So as you can see, if I continue to apply pressure here on this hard fruit or squash, it will start to crack and break into half. Again, please be very careful with the knife. And snap. It sounds like we have now two halves. Beautiful. This is called a red curry squash, and it will have a texture a lot like a pumpkin. So we're going to bake it like a pumpkin. Again, one side is going to be sweet, and the other side is going to be savory. Let's choose our spices now. And here we are coming out into the back of Allison's yard where we can find some fresh grown vegetables. Over here, we have some nice fresh spring onions. These, along with these chives, which are thinner and do not grow a bulb at the bottom, are popular for using in seasonings. Along with that, we have some herbs. Over here, we have some fresh parsley. Here is some oregano. This is thyme. Here's another version of thyme. And right here, we have some anise. I may also choose to use a little bit of what's left that's still green of this basil. Considering it is pretty cold here now in October in the Chicago area, I have lost a lot of this plant. However, if there are still usable parts, I will take advantage of the fresh greenery. So I went to my spice cabinet and I also grabbed some fresh herbs from out back. On the savory side of our squash, we are going to be using some fresh thyme from the garden, salt, black pepper, and a little bit of curry powder. On the sweet side, I have some granulated sugar, cinnamon, and nutmeg. Both of these sides we're going to be baking in some butter. So I have some nice butter here, all ready to go. We're going to use a lot of it to get that caramelized edge on both sides of the squash. Now that I have all of my flavors chosen, it's time to clean the fruit so we can go ahead and begin baking it. So in order to clean the fruit, I recommend just using the edge of a spoon, and you basically will dig out all of the seeds and the soft part inside here. The more that you leave around the edge, the more that there will be to enjoy once it's baked. So as you can see, I am just scooping out all of the seeds and the soft middle. I don't know if you wanna. This allows us to bake the rest of this fruit in the butter, as I mentioned. And this will all soften up inside this hard shell when we bake it. So I'm going to clean out the other half and then I'll show you how to prepare the dish for baking. Now this doesn't have to be perfect, but what I'm basically doing is I'm taking a metal tray for baking and I'm lining it with parchment paper. Parchment paper is different than wax paper. You do not want to use wax paper because the wax will melt off while you are baking. This is particularly made for baking. And so you can find it at a store near the aluminum foil or other plastic wrap, and it's called parchment paper. You can choose whatever technique you wish. I just have a little butter and oil on the parchment paper here. It's coconut oil and butter, and I'm going to use that to slather the fruit on both sides. Okay, now is the fun part. We are going to season them. Let's start with the sweet half. Here's my sugar. I'm going to sprinkle as much as you like. This will be for my children, so I know they like it sweet. And again, the seasonings I chose for the sweet are a little bit of nutmeg, you can apply these seasonings generously, which means where you would use quite a lot, or you could season them lightly, where you would just use a little bit of each flavor. So here we have the finished sweet half, and I'm going to put it fruit open side down onto the parchment paper. Now for the savory half. Sprinkle on some salt. I don't want it too spicy for my kids, so I'm just going to use a little bit of crushed black pepper. And I'm going to lightly sprinkle on the curry. Oh, that smells delicious. Last but not least, here's some fresh herbs from the garden. These will roast up nicely in the oil. This is my finished product for the second half. So I'm going to lay it here. And as you can see, I have a nice small dish here. So this will actually work in a toaster oven, in one of the small electric ovens. That way I don't need to heat up the whole house with a large oven with such a small dish. I know in my small oven here, I should be able to bake this at 400 degrees for about 45 minutes. And by then, the flesh should be soft and the fruit will start to caramelize. All right, now that the squash is in the oven, this is a great opportunity for us to discuss some vocabulary for in the kitchen. Right here, what I'm doing is I'm cleaning off my cutting board. I prefer to use a bamboo cutting board. And so you may have a plastic cutting board or something made of a different material. You want to always make sure you cut on a cutting board. Here we have some measuring cups. These are in the units that are used here in the United States and in metric. So we have a half cup here, or 125 milliliters, and 1 cup, which is 250 milliliters. Here are some small glass dishes, and here is a large mixing bowl. This would be for mixing things like a batter for a cake, making cookies, or even bread. Over here, we have some utensils. So these are tools or utensils that you use during cooking or baking. Some of these we generically call spatulas. And this also is a spatula. They can be used for flipping or for moving food around in a pan. These are tongs. Tongs are great for flipping things in a pan or for grabbing things out of hot water. Oh, this is one of my favorite new utensils. It is actually a pair of scissors that can nicely cut something simple like an herb into small portions. It also can be used for vegetables. And last but not least, this is a grater. They can sometimes have larger holes or smaller holes. This one is good for using to grate perhaps a lemon or a lime for some seasoning. You can also grate garlic or onion to season. You can even use this to grate some larger herbs or spices to make it finely ground, right? So a grater, and the verb there is to grate. Okay, so I'm checking on the squash here. It smells delicious. It looks like we still need about another 30 minutes, and it's a beautiful day outside, so I think it'd be great to go for a walk. What a beautiful day. It's autumn, the air is fresh. As you can see, everyone, it's so beautiful. The trees are changing colors. It's a perfect day. All right, I've taken it out of the oven. Let's take a peek. Ooh, does that look nice? As you can see here, this is the caramelization. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you had a good time. I know I sure did. I hope you learned some useful vocabulary in the kitchen. If you would like to comment or if you would like to send me a message, please email me at eslcooking@gmail.com. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. Till next time.